This video is going to show you how to draw and shade basic forms. So you should have already completed your pencil experiments and now you're on how to shade in the drawing studio. So you should have your sketchbook open to a white piece of paper. You should get a couple of different pencils. Here I have a 2B, a 6B, a HB, and a 4B. You should also get a value scale and a blending stick, okay? So the first thing that we need to know when we're thinking about shading forms is that you can create something, make something look 3D by using different values. In this value scale, there are the darkest values labeled 1 and the lightest values labeled 10. So what you should do first is create a square with at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boxes in it. You can do more than 5. If you would like to do all 10 of these values, you can do that. But we're going to just start with 5, okay? What you're going to do is you probably learned when your pencil experiments that your 6B is creating one of your darkest values. So I'm going to take my 6B and I'm going to, in my box, make it pretty dark. I'm going to press pretty hard, not enough to mess up the pencil, but I'm going to press hard enough to make it about this dark. Okay? And that's going to be, if I look and I kind of compare it to my value chart, it's maybe not quite a 1. I might need to use an ebony pencil for that 1. But it's about a 2 or a 3 on this value chart. But this is, for today, is going to be my 1 value. Then I'm going to create something that's just a little bit lighter. So maybe I'll take my 4B and I won't press as hard. All right. And it's not going to be super light, but it's definitely going to be lighter than the number 1. So you should be doing this as I'm doing it. So go ahead. You don't have to watch the whole video. Go ahead and pause your video. Go get your pencils and you can start doing this as I'm doing it so that you don't have to sit through, because this video might end up being a bit long. I want you to be doing something as you're watching. So now you can see I've got a 2 there. Oh, it's upside down. Now you can see I've got my 2. All right, and I can see the difference between the 1 and the 2. All right. Now I'm going to create a 3 value, something that's even lighter than my 2. So maybe I'll actually take my 2B pencil. Remember, as the pencils get, the lower the number, the lighter it is. So now I'm going to create something even lighter than the 2. All right, not too light yet, remember. And I'm using, and one good way to make sure that you don't see your pencil marks is to use it on your side. So when you're holding your pencil, you don't hold it like you do when you write necessarily. You hold it kind of with your hands like this so that you're getting the side of the pencil instead of the point. All right, so now I have a 3. All right, so you should probably have a 3 value as well. I'm going to continue using my 2B, but I'm just going to press really, really soft this time to create my 4. So I'm just kind of barely making a mark, all right, to create a 4. And now I want to create a 5, and for this one, I'm actually just going to take a little bit, I'm going to rub my blending stick on my 1. And I'm just going to use that to create kind of like a smudge. So it's really, really light. Actually, that's appeared a little bit lighter. I'm going to make my 4 a little bit darker now because that one is pretty light. You could also leave that last one white if you want to. Okay, but my 5 is looking a little bit darker than my 4, so I'm going to make my 4 a bit darker and darken that up a bit. Okay, so you should have 4 different values, each getting lighter than the other. You always can use your eraser, all right, if you need to. My 5 seems a bit dark, so I'm just going to lighten it up. Okay, now I've got a dark value, a number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5 different value. Now I'm ready to make something look 3D. I think that the easiest one to start with is a circle, to make a circle into a cylinder. So The next thing you're going to do is you're going to draw, I'm drawing this lightly with my HB pencil, just a circle, okay? Draw a simple circle. And what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to imagine that there is a light coming onto your circle. And you're going to decide, is it coming from this direction or is it coming from this direction? Sometimes I actually draw a little light, all right, just to imagine that there's a light coming this way on my circle, all right? Now, what I'm going to do, now that I know where my light is, I am going to draw the darkest values, okay, here, almost to the edge. So the very darkest values, I'm probably going to use my number 1 right here. And then I'm going to probably use my number 2 right here. Okay. Maybe my 3 here. And my 5 will be right here. And my maybe my 2 will be right over here too. So let me show you that up close. All right. All right. So what that does, now I'll show you what that means. So I've got I'm going to do my 1. So I have to remember, sometimes it helps if you label which pencil you used for your 1. So I used my 6B. So I'm going to use my 1. It's going to be very dark down here. Okay. So I am kind of blending in my number 1. I'm using the same technique. I'm making it pretty dark. Okay. Actually, that's not as dark as I made it, so let me darken it up a bit. Okay. Now I'm making my number 2. So all I did, actually I did use my 4B for number 2. I'm going to use that, or you could just lighten up with your 6B if that's working. But I'm going to make it a little bit lighter there. Okay. Now I'm going to go make my number 3 that I made. Here where I marked it number 3. And my number 4 is in there. So I'm going from the darkest down here at the bottom to the lightest here at the top. Okay? So now, if what you want to try to do is make this look seamless, so that's when you can come in with your blending stick and you can make, you don't want to see the differences from the number 4 to number 3 to number 2. You want to just have it sort of all blend in. Now, I'm kind of doing this really fast. Yours is probably going to look, I want you to take your time with yours. Yours is going to look better. All right. But you're going to use the values to create a cylinder. So, sorry, not a cylinder, a sphere. So when you blend something and use different values and you know where your light source is coming from. See, I'm kind of using the blending stick for some parts that are light. All right. Then you can create something that looks very three-dimensional. So now instead of this looking just like a circle, it looks more like a sphere. Okay. The last thing that you should do to make it look 3D is to cast a shadow. So remember, I'm pretending there's like this lamp that's here creating my light. All right. I'm going to draw kind of like a little oval here, because when there is a, when you're creating 3D things, and I'm just going to actually use my, maybe I'll use my 2B to create my circle, but I'm going to use something light to create a little shadow here. Okay. I'm using the side of my pencil, remember, so that it doesn't get to, I don't see the lines. It looks more like a real shadow. All right, I'm going to use my blending stick here. All right, so now it's actually casting a shadow. All right, so it's looking even more three-dimensional. Okay, so now that's how to draw a sphere. I want you to choose, over there on the green shelf, there is a binder that says Drawing Techniques, okay? And in there it has how to draw basic shapes. So it has how to draw a cube. It's in a binder, but these are the worksheets. It has how to draw a cube, how to draw a cylinder, how to draw a cone, and how to draw a box. So let's see, I don't know if I said them all. Box, cone, cylinder, sphere. So basically most things in the world are made up of these 5 shapes: box, cylinder, cone, sphere. So when you get something like these how to draw books, all right, and they're teaching you how to draw something, it will tell you first not to just start drawing it, but it'll tell you first to draw different shapes. So like if you're making a horse, you can see like there's the beginning of the sphere right there. Okay, there are cylinders for the legs. So this is sort of the fundamentals that make up any drawing. So I want you to do your value scale. I want you to try a sphere, and then I want you to try 2 other shapes. It could be a box, it could be a cone, it could be a cylinder. Once you have that, then you have completed the shading forms, and you're ready to move on to the grid method.